Guys, good to have you here. Probably start off and do a little bit of intro. So, tell me a little bit about yourself first of all.
You want me to go first? Fine.
Yes. Tell me a little bit.
So I'm Toyosi, as you know, principal at Ascension. Ascension's a UK pre-seed and seed fund, backing founders at the earliest stage of their journey in building and hopefully changing the world. Been in tech 6 years, 2 years as a founder, had a platform that connected tech companies in Africa to private investors. And then I've worked for three different funds. One is Bessemer, a large venture fund out of the US. Second one is Speed Invest, HQ'd in Vienna. I was sitting in the London office, marketplaces and consumer team, bunch of deals, bunch of portfolio up rounds, and then joined Ascension 7 months ago.
Brilliant.
Married, 2 kids,
Okay. Yep.
on a lighter note.
Nice. I like that. You're gonna have to try and top that down.
Okay, so obviously I'm Danny. I'm one half of Workstream. Workstream's a commercial management platform for construction. We founded it over a year ago now, and we have customers and traction. So we recently went through a pre-seed fundraising round, and that's where we met Toyosi, who very kindly jumped on board. So a bit about me. My background's in construction. Specialised within disputes in construction, working on projects that were distressed, starting to lose money. And through that was kind of how I gained the experience and identified the pain points that Workstream's solving. I've got 3 kids.
Oh, okay.
And I'm married.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not married. No kids. Okay, so let's kick off just with you, Danny. So went through the fundraise, went through a bit of a process. Some founders are going to watch this. Let's talk a little bit about your process and how you ended up getting to Ascension and what that looked like. Any tips? Any things that was horrific? Any things that were good? Tell me all.
Where do I start?
This is going to be fun.
You said 15 minutes, Gary.
It's fine.
I need to get a whiteboard for this. Where we started was we already had customers and we were generating revenue. It was at a stage where we knew that our staff costs would exceed our income, and we needed to be venture backed. Because there was a huge opportunity that we wanted to go after, and the first step of that was effectively a SaaS play. So once we could get the SaaS play up and going, then we could go after the rest, which is eventually working our way into a marketplace type solution. So with that in mind, Sophie, my co-founder, she joined about a year ago, and we knew each other through mutual friends. And it became very clear very quickly that we needed, the VC money. We'd reached out to a few VCs before, and some angels, and we weren't really getting much traction with them. So we decided to approach Chris McClelland here and ask him for some help, on putting together the pitch deck, making it a bit more clear and concise. So we sat down. We thought it would take us about a week to get that pitch deck ready, and it was a reiterative process that is still being reiterated to this day, and we've closed the round. So it always takes a lot longer than you think to get the pitch together, especially to convey your message, convey the opportunity. And then also like VCs, have a lot of inbound, so it needs to kind of catch their eye. Okay. It really helped as well going through yourself, to get those initial warm intros. And then what we actually found was some VCs didn't necessarily pass on us, but it introduced us to other people. And then that kind of kept the conversation going. And then we spoke to quite a few people throughout the UK, Ireland, Europe, even as far as Japan. Some said, look, not this round, but it means we've now got that network. So when it comes to the next stage, they're more seed, Series A. We'll have established that network and hopefully be easier.
So as Danny says, there's a lot of inbound that you get in terms of deal flow. All VCs get that. What made it kind of stand out for you to have an initial conversation with Danny?
So it's a great question. A number of things. I think first of all, I personally like vertical SaaS and marketplaces. I over-index on B2B, and so they kind of fell into the B2B vertical SaaS bucket, and I could see how this could be a marketplace, or at least a networked kind of play with strong network effects, which kind of attracted me. The fact that it was in construction, which is unsexy, largely undigitized, and actually, I have a little bit of experience from Speed Invest. I used to sit on the board of a company called Yardlink. I also made an investment into a company called Jumba, which is a B2B marketplace for construction out of Kenya. And I think the understanding of that space, as well as layering on that the playbook, which Danny has a lot of, i.e., he spent tons of years in construction. He understands the problem, the nuances of the problem, and actually the fact that he already has a black book of people he can go to and sell this product to. I think all of that, plus their traction, made it attractive, and I just had to have the first conversation.
Okay, so talk me through those kind of conversations. How did it go? That initial chat, was it good? Was it bad? It's obviously led to a good outcome, but was there hicks? Was there anything that we could kind of chat about and dive into? From
Do you mean
both your perspectives?
I was just going to say from my perspective or his
both.
perspective?
I want to hear both.
You should probably go first, and you can be brutally honest. Obviously.
No, like it was probably one of our most positive first calls. It was, I suppose, it was a bit more natural than some of the others, and that was kind of on us. It was a bit of a learning process where you think a VC just wants to hear the pitch, and that's that. Where by the time we had got to Ascension, it wasn't so much a pitch; it was just a conversation. Introducing Sophie and I, a bit of background on what we were doing, problems we were trying to solve, and our hopes and aspirations. Whereas some of the conversations we had with VCs prior to Ascension were a lot more sort of formulaic, jump on, go through the pitch deck as fast as we can and be like, right, can we have the money, please? Whereas with Ascension, it was a lot more natural. And then there was a few follow-ups, especially with the team with Sonia. And then obviously the partner calls were Remy and that. So all in all, they were quite natural. And it was, I suppose, it was an acknowledgement as well that we were early days in our business. There was still a lot to build. Whereas some of the other conversations we had, it was, well, what have you actually built?
Do you feel the same?
So I do, is a short answer. I actually remember, so I have a bit of a rule when looking at companies, and every founder should probably know this. If a VC goes cold on you, it probably means there isn't momentum in the deal, and it's likely that they're not interested. Now, I distinctly remember that with Workstream, it was a little bit of an outlier because I think something was happening at the time. Maybe I was closing a deal or something, because I know that the gap between the first conversation and the second was quite wide by my standards, because normally I would do a relatively quick follow-up between the two. In fact, I think we may have had more than 3 conversations total. But one check that I always do with every company is if I talk to you more and I get more excited the more I talk to you, the more excited I get, that's usually an inkling that, my heart, I'm excited about the company. Do you know what I mean? And I got that when I was talking to these guys. So for me, it was like, even though there was a bit of a gap between the first and the second conversation, with that second conversation, I was like, okay, you're still excited about this opportunity. You should double down and then saw it through to the end. But yeah, it was a breeze. The guys are clearly very talented, and I'm excited to see what we're going to build together.
Good. So let's kind of talk about, so deals happening, it's went through. What's that next step in the journey first of all for you, Danny? It's obviously execution mode, but how is Ascension going to come in from a value add perspective to support Danny and some of those other kind of elements of the business? So probably you first in terms of money's coming, execution time, need to get some customers, but also there's value add from Ascension.
Yeah. So I suppose, like with everything in startup world, it's all sort of chicken and egg type scenario. People talk about laying the tracks when you're driving the train, or like building the airplane while you're flying. We already have like a strong customer wait list. We have a product, but we need a more mature product, for this customer wait list. So our challenge now is to onboard our customers with immature product and build that out with them and work in partnership with them to deliver value for them, but also get back those insights for us. And then obviously work with our investors to strategize about what the next steps are. How do we propel that even quicker, and not just wait and see. we take the lead and actually deliver.
And Ascension, from a value add perspective, how are you going to support Danny on this journey? Because a lot of VCs do talk about value add, and some of them
Not
have.
many of us do it, to be honest.
Well, that's what I was trying to say in a nice way. So,
Yeah, I shoot straight from the hip. That's just the truth, man. So look, I mean, it's funny. I literally had this conversation with somebody else in Ascension today. There are 3 ways that we can help any company as VCs. 1 is customers, 2 is talent, and 3 is investment, meaning attracting investment. I think on the customers one, that might be difficult just simply because we're not a construction only focused VC. This is from an Ascension point of view. In any case, I mean, Danny's got the black book, right? So he's got the customers, or at least he has access to them. Also, in these kind of industries, you kind of have to speak, right? You have to be one of them to be able to sell to them, and he has all the chops already. So I probably can't add, or we can't add that much value from that perspective. On the talent side, however, we definitely have. I mean, look, Ascension has 175 portfolio companies, all of which, 1, have talent, 2, know people who are in the ecosystem who are talented, and 3, we also have third-party providers who help us when it comes to recruiting talent for our startups. So that's that one checked. The investment one is an interesting one. So I think everybody can lay claim to knowing this investor at this fund, etc. I think where we might be slightly different is I like to take a very hands-on approach to fundraising, in the sense of, so we've come in at pre-seed. The next round will be a seed or a Series A, or one after the other. Fortunately, I know what to look for at each stage. Why? Because at Speed Invest, I was investing at seed, and obviously my portfolio companies, after we invested, they would raise a Series A, and so I knew what people further upstream or downstream were looking for. Because of that, I think we need to. Danny was talking about building the plane in flight, and I agree. But I think in order to build the plane in flight, you need to know what your target is. So because I know what people are looking for at the next stage of investment in terms of revenue, in terms of growth, in terms of LTV to CAC ratios, retention, etc., reducing concentration risk of customers and so on, I want to believe that we can build intentionally, knowing what our target is, and build towards that, so that when it's time to do the next raise of funding, hopefully it won't be as tricky as it was this time, where you have to convince loads of people to even take a look, and actually it'll be the opposite, where we'll flip it on its head and we'll get a lot of inbounds from investors approaching us.
So to kind of round us off a little bit, so you've obviously, Ascension as a fund is actually doing quite a lot of deals here.
Yeah, I think we're on 4 or 5. Yeah,
with a lot of them actually in this building.
Absolutely.
So if a founder is watching this, what are some of the things that you would like to see so we can get more of you investing in, like Danny, situations going on? So what are some of those things? What are those, if we give a couple of just examples?
It's a tough one. So I always say there are a few things. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go through my I think it's a 10-point laundry list.
Okay.
Very, very, I mean, it's very high level. So, big problem. Product, what your product is, how is it competitive, etc. Actually, let me take a step back. 10 things: problem, product, market, competition, business model, team, traction, risks and mitigants, go to market, and funding and financials. Those are the 10 things.
Okay, it's deep.
I'm surprised I remembered it all.
Well done.
But I think in terms of what we look at, just even pure vanilla, like off the cuff, there has to be an MVP. We like at least a 2-person co-founding team with equal or a balanced equity split between co-founders. It doesn't have to be exact, but it can't be like, I don't know, 95 and 5%, for example, if it's a two co-founding team. We generally like B2B and B2B2C. We do B2C, but very, very rarely. Like, it really has to be a standout case for us to do B2C. There has to be proof of a need from customers. That either means you're revenue generating, or you have a lot of usage and engagement from customers. I always use this analogy or say that if you build something that people need, they will use it, they will stay, and they will pay. Those three things. And actually, at this stage, it's mainly the team, right? There has to be strong founder market fit. In this case, construction. Danny's been doing it for 20 years, or maybe 15. I can't remember the number, but it's a long time. Bottom line.
It's actually longer.
Oh, is it longer? There you go. Even longer. So for me, that's amazing. We basically need to see how the founding team fits into the problem set. And then obviously it has to be a big enough market. Everybody throws numbers around, billion here, trillion there, and whatnot. But when you boil it down to brass tacks, in terms of your ideal customer profile, the way you monetize and how much revenue this equates to you as a company on an annual basis, that's what we're talking about. And that's the size of the market. And then obviously the rest of the list unravels. Hopefully that's helpful.
No, it is. It is. Okay, so deal is done. Exciting times ahead.
Yes.
It's going to be a good relationship moving forward.
Absolutely.
Seed round is going to be a lot quicker, and we're going to get it through the door. We're all here to help you. Thank you so much for joining me in this little interview.
Pleasure. Anytime.
Thank you.